Hello, everyone. My name is Tamara Allen. I serve as the programs director here at Upvote Virginia. And today I am so excited to have our guest on the Red Couch series, Jason Melendez. He is one of our wonderful young leaders here in Virginia who is doing amazing work in the Commonwealth. And today we're just going to speak to why young people should be involved, talk a little bit about the Charlottesville RCV race and talking about how ranked choice voting can empower young people. So, Jason, if you don't mind, could you give us a little bit about yourself and some of the work that you're doing here in Virginia?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm currently legislative director to Delegate Katrina Carlson, who represents Charlottesville. Before that, I used to live in Chesterfield, where I also explored running for Board of Supervisors as one of the youngest folks to do so in Chesterfield's history. And excuse me, I'm going in for a sneeze. So I have to edit this out. It doesn't want to come though.
You
These are
know,
the candid moments that are perfect though.
no, these are.
Um, But yeah, now that I'm in Charlottesville, I'm vice chair of the Human Rights Commission, so I do a lot of advisory work to City Council, which does include an occasion good governance reform issues. And I've also worked on the mayor and vice mayor's reelection campaign in Charlottesville's first ranked choice voting Democratic primary. So I'm happy to be here. I've long been supportive of Upvote's work, and I've long known Liz and yourself as well. So I'm happy to join you guys.
Wow. Can you tell the viewers, if you don't mind sharing, how old you are? Because your resume is like, I think there are 40-year-olds who haven't done as much work you've done. So, like, do you mind sharing how old you are?
I am 21, although I kind of feel like I'm 40 sometimes. Politics ages you. It is not.
Yes.
It is it is where it wears you down, especially right now with everything that's going on. It really does wear you down.
So, what would you say? Well, let's back up really quickly. What made you get so involved in your community, wanting to run for office? Like, what kind of drove you to where you are now?
Yeah, I'll say it was always an interest in my mind. I had parents that, when I grew up, I always encouraged me to be civically involved. I want my parents to go vote every time they'd vote.
Yeah, same.
I grew up in New Jersey, and then I eventually moved to Virginia in 2019. On my maternal side family is from Virginia, and I always thought about, how it was always my great grandfather's goal to be able to come back to Virginia and come back to a Virginia that wasn't segregated. When he left Virginia to move to the Northeast, it was in the I believe it was late 40s, and he was a truck driver. So it was just safer for him to be a truck driver in the Northeast than it was to be in Virginia as a black man. And, I always thought about, how can I continue to make an impact in Virginia since he never got the chance to come back to Virginia before he passed away, and because he always wanted to live in Virginia again. But I always wanted to think, how can I best contribute to Virginia's future? And, I think Virginia's got a lot of hope, especially as some of our southern states south of us. North Carolina and Virginia are kind of, and Maryland for that matter, are kind of just, it's holding it together right now for the whole southern region. So
Yeah, yeah. I like to call Virginia the trendsetters of the South.
I think
Um,
so. For a long time, it was the exact opposite. We were like the
yeah.
last to see anything, but it seems like we've gotten a little bit more courage over time.
Yeah, we're gonna attribute that to young people. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Absolutely.
Um, but no, like it's really nice to hear your why, and I think that that can lead us into um how we encourage like our peers, our younger peers, our peers who are young in heart, in their why for why they should get involved. Um, so my next question kind of is when you are talking to young people about getting involved or just people in general, what does the conversation look like? Do you start with what's your why or do you ask people what do they care about? Like how do you go about engaging people in politics in general?
Well, I'll say right now in this particular moment, it's actually really easy to engage folks as people are upset or they're concerned or they're worried, and those are all valid emotions to feel. And I think, as I kind of talk to folks on no matter what age they are, folks are ready to just lend their skills and lend a supportive hand however they can, whether it's mutual aid, whether it's supporting nonprofits and volunteering, or whether it's organizing. So to me, being able to work in this environment with young people who are already fired up and ready to do something is super helpful. Now we just need to energize them and turn their talent into ways that they can break through, whether it is in within their political party and in party office, or whether it's running for office, or if it's in a professional capacity. But there is an extreme amount of Virginia young Democratic talent out there, and young talent across the political spectrum as a whole, not
Yeah.
even just Democrats. They know a vote is nonpartisan,
Yeah.
but at least to my angle, young Democratic talent that's out there, that's ready to do the work and ready to lead Virginia forward.
Yeah. Well, like you said, across the political spectrum, even in college, just a few years ago for me, seeing your independent young people, your people who identify more with right values, definitely being active on their college campuses, talking about the issues. So definitely can say that young people across the political spectrum are getting involved and are engaged. We definitely saw their voice in the 2024 election, whether however you vote, but you definitely saw the voice of young people and the influence that they had not only on our elections, but how we get our information, media, all of the things. So yeah, if you wanted to talk a little bit more to what did you see, and this goes to the next question after, but like what were some of the things that you most enjoyed about the Charlottesville ranked choice voting election, or what are some things that you think maybe could be improved? Just speak to your experience to that.
Yeah, well, I think we did a fantastic job administering that
Yeah.
process. I think we have a fantastic registrar
Yes.
who was able to lead us through that process. I think perhaps getting the voter education piece done through the city was a little bit of a choppy, kind of transition with some of the
Yeah.
state laws that govern how registrars can engage in voter education and where the sources of money can come from to do that. So that might be some sort of statutory cleanup that we come behind and do later. But I think what a lot of people actually, if it's my understanding correctly, from some of the research that former Delegate Hudson had put out post primary, it was that more people actually voted in the ranked choice voting city council primary than they decided to vote in the statewide
Yeah.
Democratic primaries. And that's interesting for two reasons. One, because it's a totally different ballot style, and two, it was on the back of the ballot.
Yeah.
So that shows that people were engaged, people were paying attention. There were a number of mailers from all candidates in the race, but also from the city and from Ranked Choice Virginia, that were really getting the message out there. And so I think overall, at the end of the day, I think we read it was if any locality wants a solid example of what a good pilot looks like, they can look at Charlottesville.
Yeah. We love our registrars. I don't think registrars get enough respect that they are due. The hard work that they do for not just like ranked choice voting implementation, but just in general for an election, given that we have an election every single year. So we love our registrars. We love y'all so much. Um, and to your point of we kind of talked about, young people being engaged, and we're talking about how voter turnout was increased in Charlottesville. We've definitely seen countless studies that talked about how voter turnout increases by like the double digits, of course, when people are able to use ranked choice voting. So, how specifically can we say that young people can be empowered with using our RCV election? Um, and you can also talk about maybe one of your favorite benefits to ranked choice voting, but how exactly can they be empowered when trying to get involved?
Yeah, so I'll say right off the bat, one of the absolute benefits I think we had because we had three fantastic candidates
Yeah.
this year running in Charlottesville. All three candidates were progressive candidates. They enjoyed support from a variety of folks across the city. So it was really interesting. Actually, people felt like they weren't having to split their vote in so much necessarily, or have to only single out two people as they would have otherwise done in a first past the post Charlottesville election. But when I think in particularly about young people, when combined with other good governance reforms, I'm hopeful that ranked choice voting, as it begins to get adopted in more localities in Virginia, will encourage young people to consider running for office. I think ranked choice voting is a huge piece of what could be a potential of good governance reform, you know, possibilities to come in the next few years.
Yeah.
And I think part of that's also going to mean extending ranked choice voting across other races. I think you know, we've seen how it can work for local governing bodies like Charlottesville City Council or Arlington County Board. But just imagine if we could have had that option to, do ranked choice voting in the Democratic primary for lieutenant governor, where we
Yep.
had so many fantastic candidates. I mean, so many fantastic options. And it'd be curious to know just kind of, how that would have evolved that primary.
Yeah.
Um, but I think ultimately, even amongst Republicans and Democrats, I think there's an interest to say, how can we think about ranked choice voting in Virginia elections? I mean, Republicans are no stranger to ranked choice voting.
Fun.
2021, their convention process used ranked choice voting. And ultimately, what it did is exactly what we've been told ranked choice voting would do, find the consensus candidate. It gave Republicans, you know, ultimately what was their better candidate, and they ended up winning in 2021. They found their consensus candidate amongst themselves using ranked choice voting. So I'm hopeful that, ranked choice voting with a suite of good governance measures will begin to see more young people running for office. I'm thinking about city council salaries or board of supervisor salaries,
Yes.
thinking about things like potentially ending for localities that haven't ending the partisan primary process for local office, instead shifting to the November election schedule entirely. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that, when paired with ranked choice voting, I mean, we can supercharge elections and see a tremendous benefit in localities of all kinds.
Yeah. I think that's great points, because we've definitely heard a lot of people talk about like, is ranked choice voting the end all be all, the big old answer to all of our problems, the solution. And we always say it's a tool in the toolbox that can definitely change or fix a lot of the concerns that voters have, delegates, senators, like everyone has about elections in Virginia. So it's really good and very heartwarming to know that you are someone and a lot of like-minded people like you who have the same views towards RCV.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, there's no one simple
it's not,
solution to fixing democracy or
it's
to
not,
bettering democracy. It's going to be this is a fantastic tool,
yeah,
and one of the larger components to good governance reform, but it's not the only one. And what I'm appreciative of the fact is that Upvote does that work amongst other coalition partners to recognize that there are a number of things that go into
yeah,
governance reform, which is ultimately a bipartisan issue. I mean, trust in government institutions is about as low as it possibly can get right now, and that's not just among Democrats. It's the case amongst the entire spectrum. Just trust has eroded for such a long time. And I think the more that we lean into this as a bipartisan solution, is the more we can restore faith in government and also, push back radical ideology that has taken over government and ultimately harmed people in the process.
wow. You took the words right out of my mouth, actually. So, no, definitely 100% echo everything that you just said. One of the things that I know personally I like to highlight when presenting, when we talk about like diversity, definitely talking about diversity is also in age. Diversity is in young people being engaged. Diversity is in socioeconomic. Diversity is in whether you're a renter or a homeowner. We know that like Arlington County, like most people are renters. So for a while, they had no renters on their board of supervisors. So just talking about these different things and like making sure that the messaging is all about consensus building. It's all about talking to one another. I think we are divided, obviously. So at Upvote, we really just try to make sure everyone's voice is heard. But we are making sure that people understand that like you have the tools out here, just time to get involved, let your city councilmen know, let your state representatives know that there's something that they should be supporting. So
Yeah,
definitely,
you look to so many different states that have, taken bites out the apple in
yeah,
much grander ways than we have here in Virginia. Thinking like Alaska, for example, which has
yeah.
been, using it for several terms now, and they've had tremendous success with it there. I
I think
think,
Portland, Oregon is
yeah,
also
Portland is
a
Maine
great
another
example.
one, maybe
Yeah,
Maine.
Maine,
Um,
Massachusetts, Cambridge, Massachusetts uses a variation of proportional ranked choice voting.
So
Um,
it might be just time for Virginia to kind of dive in and really, and that's one of the things at least I feel optimistic about. Hopefully, with a Democratic trifecta, especially with Abigail Spanberg at the top of the ticket. I know you guys are nonpartisan, but she has, of course, expressed her interest
Partisan, guys.
in good governance reform. So, I mean, I'm hopeful that we'll kind of see things come down that vein because it ultimately helps all of us.
Yeah, it does. And while we are nonpartisan, we are very excited about the future of ranked choice voting, not just because of a Democratic trifecta, but like we have allies on the others across the aisle who do support ranked choice voting. And just that government transparency, that conversation, that coalition building are just going to be some of the foundational things that need to happen to make sure we can see what we need to see, the progress that we need to see in our state. So, in our elections. So, that's all I have for you, Jason. Very, very happy that you were able to talk to us today. Um, one last question. We're gonna make it fun, and I'm thinking of it off the top of my head. We're gonna make it nerdy fun. What are your top three podcasts and rank them in order of preference, please?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm not a huge podcast person.
Okay, okay. Well,
I could go TV shows though.
okay, let's do TV shows.
Current
Yeah,
TV shows on
TV
Netflix.
shows.
Um, The Diplomat is definitely my favorite
Okay.
on Netflix right now. I'm a foreign affairs kind of nerd, even that's not the area of policy that I even work in. But I love Kerry Russell, and I think she's a fantastic actress. I'm sorry.
I have
And
not tuned into The Diplomat yet.
it's
Everyone's been
so good. There's only 2 seasons out so far, so you can still catch up. There's still
okay.
plenty of time. Um, Kind of a funny one. Tyler Perry's Miss Governor. Have
Oh
you
my gosh, hilarious.
That second episode when she comes in and she steps on the Confederate rug in the Lieutenant Governor's mansion is like so insane. So that's also been a kind of good one to catch up on. And then I think just kind of an oldie that I'll never stop loving is Scandal.
Oh my
So
God.
Olivia
I'm so glad
Pope.
you said
Yeah.
that.
How can you not love Olivia Pope?
Exactly.
So those are kind of my three top shows. Two of them currently relevant. One's kind of just an all time.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like Scandal touches on everything. You get your foreign affairs, you get your domestic affairs, you get your scandal.
Yeah, I always try to tell folks who aren't so tuned into politics, like, thankfully, it isn't quite like Scandal.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, maybe there's different things going on in DC than there are in Richmond, but
you're not
we
doing that in Richmond.
yeah, we usually don't have to worry about people getting casually murdered or anything like that.
Exactly.
Those are usually not the issues that we're dealing with in Richmond. It's more like, does the city of Richmond have water, or do we
Exactly.
have enough energy to power Virginia homes for the next 3 years? Like it's usually
Yeah.
it's pretty nerdy.
Yeah, it's very nerdy. And believe it or not, most people are friends in Richmond,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
you'd be surprised. Yeah. I okay, now I want to do it too. My top three right now is my number one is New York Undercover. I the old one from the 90s. I don't know why. I was doing SVU for a while, too much happening there. So I said, okay, I'm going to try something different. So New York Undercover, I've been binge watching that. I'd say my second, I've got to be a little, it was Love Island for a little bit.
I feel
Until
like everyone
now.
was kind of on that train for a little while.
And then I had to get off of it. I had to stop because it was starting to consume me. So I had
I
to
just had people
stop.
text me insane amounts of times over Love Island. They're like, "Can you just down the app and vote?" And I'm like, "Okay, fine, I'll just do it because you're asking me to." But
Literally,
like, otherwise, I have no idea what's going on. But it was kind of funny to follow along as it was like getting towards its end.
yeah. I think also the reason why I was into Love Island because my nerdy brain kicked in and it was like there is so much that can be said about how our society operates, especially like not just dating, but like when it comes to how can I put this?
For a
Actually, I'm
second, I thought you were going to talk about ranked choice voting in Love Island.
yeah.
Like, I know we're
Well,
getting
we
into this
did need ranked choice
eventually.
voting. If I had ranked choice voting, I definitely would have been able to rank my favorite couples rather than having to pick because that was a lot. That
So
was
who
my
was your favorite couple in the end?
I it's gonna be too controversial.
Too controversial.
Definitely not Ace and Shelley. It was not them. I would say Amaya, whoever Amaya had ended up with would have been fine with me because I saw her cry too much on on the screen. I said, can this girl get some love? You know? Um, but obviously, Olandria and Nick, I think their coupling definitely spoke to a lot of women, especially Black and brown women who has nothing to do with ranked choice voting, but I think it definitely spoke to a lot of different things that we talk about in our communities. And then my third one is always going to be Girlfriends. I love Girlfriends. I watched it about 4 times. So those are my top three. And yeah, not very nerdy. I like to disassociate from
No, I don't blame you for that.
when they
Maybe
start on.
I probably should give that a try,
You
honestly.
should.
I should
You
probably
should.
just jump into Love Island. There's gonna be another season, right? Eventually. I mean,
Yeah, but you're not missing anything, honestly. Just go watch it on TikTok or something.
yeah, I feel like I could get all the highlights there, honestly.
Yeah. Well, Jason, this is the beauty of young people in politics. We get to yap about Love Island and how we disassociate from reality. Um, so thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today. And please, 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 everyone, follow Upvote on all our socials. It'll definitely be in the description or wherever you're watching this at. And stay tuned for all the good work that Jason is going to be doing with Delegate Carlson. Stay tuned because session is coming up. So, make sure you're on that LIS to make sure you're seeing what bills are being passed, what things you need to be emailing your delegates about. So, thank y'all so much for tuning in. And thank you, Jason, for being a supporter of Upvote. And we love you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I
Of
appreciate it.
course. All right.